Good morning. It is still morning, I think. I'd like to thank everybody for being here this morning and taking time out of your busy schedules to be with us today. My name is Charles Edens. I'm a retired farmer from Sumter County and a small businessman. I'm also a member of Sumter County Council, and this year I've been given the pleasure of being president of the South Carolina Association of Counties. My main reason for being here today with you is to release the results of a statewide survey done by the University of South Carolina Research Lab. This survey of South Carolina registered voters was done this month, and the results are scientifically accurate to within 3.5%. The results of this survey strongly support the Association of Counties' legislative policy to oppose legislation that undermines counties' authorities to address their responsibilities regarding the disposal of waste. This legislative position was adopted by our legislative committee, which is made up of 75 county officials to include county council chairmen from all 46 counties. The committee meets numerous times, discusses and identifies issues to be considered by the association before every legislative session. The General Assembly is facing a very important decision. They must decide whether to support large out-of-state waste corporations or the citizens of this state. Legislation that has been intensely lobbied this year by large out-of-state waste corporations undermines county governments and citizens' ability to control where garbage is disposed in our backyards. The only way that state or local governments can block out-of-state waste coming into this state is if a landfill is owned by a local government and the citizens that elect county and city council support it. The survey done this month by the University of South Carolina shows that 88.2% of registered voters in this state oppose the importation of out-of-state garbage. That's 88%. Two giant out-of-state waste corporations headquartered in Houston and Phoenix own every private municipal solid waste landfill in this state except one, which is owned by a company in California. The giant corporations desperately want this bill to invalidate county ordinances that are overwhelmingly supported by the public because these ordinances are impediments to their business plans. University of South Carolina study also shows that 76.4% of registered voters think that county council should control where garbage generated in a county is disposed of. This legislation does the opposite and invalidates county ordinances that direct where garbage should be disposed. The direction of garbage is typically necessary to keep costs low for citizens, to protect the public from federal pollution law liability, and to ensure financing of public solid waste and recycling operations. If this legislation passes, existing operations, including public landfills, will be crippled and future operations will be nearly impossible. Local franchise garbage collectors, who are often small businesses, will lose their ability to compete against large out-of-state corporations that haul garbage to their own landfills and can manipulate pricing to favor themselves. Franchises awarded after competitive bidding direct haulers where to dispose the garbage, so this legislation voids the ordinances that control franchises. This all leads to a monopoly of the state's garbage business. Large mega dumps that accept dewatered human fecal matter from New York will become the norm in South Carolina. Lee County residents have had to battle a corporation in court for years because of the overwhelming stench brought to their community. County governments exist to protect the public's health and safety, and we take our responsibilities under state law to provide solid waste services to our citizens very seriously. Any legislation that harms all 46 counties and goes completely against the desires of the vast majority of citizens of this state must be stopped and defeated. This concludes my remarks. At this time, I want to ask Shelley Robbins from the Upstate Forever to come have a few comments.
Give my man a hand.
Thank you. I'm Shelley Robbins. I'm with Upstate Forever. First, I want to thank the Association of Counties for organizing this event and for immediately understanding the ramifications of this bill. Back in 2006, Waste Management asked DHEC for permission to build a mega landfill down on the Erie River in Spartanburg County, my county. Problem was, it would have been Spartanburg County's third municipal solid waste landfill. It was to replace the state's second largest landfill, Palmetto, that was due to close. And the new one could have been even bigger under old rules. Spartanburg County runs its own little landfill, funded by Spartanburg County citizens and for Spartanburg County citizens. Waste Management and Republic, who I'll call Big Trash, they do serve South Carolina, but they bring in waste from wherever they can get it. North Carolina, Virginia, New York, New Jersey, and in past years, Connecticut, Delaware, and Texas. Big Trash has made South Carolina a dumping ground. So what happened in Spartanburg? Well, fortunately, Spartanburg County used something in the law called a consistency provision, a function of home rule, to say no. Waste Management still hasn't found a county that is willing to host a replacement landfill for Palmetto and all of its out-of-state trash, and that is one reason we're here today. This bill hacks away at the county's authority over these decisions by taking away their ability to pass ordinances regarding zoning, buffers, and setbacks for landfills and transfer stations, and it ties their hands for financing their own facilities. We need them, but landfills and transfer stations do stink. They pollute the air and the water, and they put hundreds of heavy trucks on local roads every day. Taking away the county's authority to make rules about these things is the same thing as taking away the citizens' authority. The county officials who make local decisions are accountable to local citizens. Big Trash is accountable to stockholders who don't live here. It's all about money. And to show you what I mean, I'm going to quote the Motley Fool, who just picked on Waste Management a little bit last week. They said it needs to get its earning growth back in line with its share price. That's why gaining ground in South Carolina, an easy state for profits because of our low costs, is so important. That's why here, why now. Big Trash already controls 75% of the flow of municipal solid waste in this state. But provisions in this bill will also make it easier for Big Trash to slowly take over our 9 remaining county landfills, creating a trash importing monopoly in the state and putting our small haulers out of business. Big Trash is our major trash importer, responsible for between 96% and 100% of the trash imported into this state in the last 7 years. We are fortunate to have plenty of capacity for our own needs in South Carolina between our 8 private landfills and our 9 public ones. That's a nice balance. Until we figure out a better way, we do need landfills. But what we don't need is policy change that will allow Big Trash to dramatically increase out-of-state waste, waste that will pollute our air with fugitive landfill gas and truck emissions, pollute our water when liners leak, that will increase our health care costs, our road infrastructure costs, our water treatment costs, and degrade our property values for years to come. This bill doesn't give anyone except Big Trash more freedom. We need to understand the consequences of this decision in 10, 20, 50 years. So who benefits from this bill? Big Trash. But who pays? We do. Thank you.
At this time, Mr. Kerwood Chapel from York County Council would like to have a few words.
Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, it's an honor to find out there's so many caring South Carolinians left, and we must control our own destiny in our own community, in our own county. I've been on the York County Council for 20 years. Got 2 more to go. Just been elected, too. We need to protect our counties and our people, and make sure that what we got on council for to take care of our roads and our garbage by ourselves and provide fire protection and police protection. That's our duty by the Home Rule Act. That's what we are supposed to do. And now this strips us of that authority. We need to protect our counties and our state and our people. The whole mess is a well-funded, planned by big shots out-of-state waste companies to try and take control of our land and dump out-of-state garbage and waste on my people in York County, and yours too in the rest of the state. If this bill passes, we lose the power to protect our people and become the dumping ground for any and all out-of-state waste. It's time, ladies and gentlemen, to stand up and be heard. Thank you all for allowing me to appear before you.
Thank you, and at this time, we would be glad to take questions from the press, if you have questions. Oh, we have one more speaker, I'm sorry.
Good morning. My name is David Ferguson. I'm the chairman of Fairfield County Council. This is very near and dear to the citizens in Fairfield County as well as the citizens in the state. In 2001, we had a major company try to come into Fairfield County to place a CD landfill in the largest growing area we had in Fairfield County at that particular time. We fought from 2001 and 2006 to defeat this in a very residential area within 200 feet of $200,000 to $300,000 homes, and we were instrumental in trying to get this thing turned around. And like I said, it took us over 5 years to get it stopped. Less than 6 months after we stopped the one on Boney Road, the same company came back on Highway 215 in Mr. Marshall-Ria's district and tried to start a CD landfill in that community. We were able, within a year and a half, to get that one stopped. The fact of the matter is, if we let this legislation get passed, we, the county council, and the citizens in the state will not have the freedom to say no to these companies, and this is something that we desperately need, and we need to send a message loud and clear to our legislators that this is not to be tolerated by the citizens in Fairfield County and this state. Thank you.
Is there anyone else before I? You like to see you.
Let me say first, this is a historic moment in the state of South Carolina. Back in 1975, we passed home rule in this state. This legislation smacks in the face of that home rule back in 1975. I can tell you here today, nothing is more important in the General Assembly this year besides the appropriation bill. This will absolutely micromanage local governments all over this state. The municipalities, the county governments, the school districts finally were let go. They were freed of all of this legislation that was sent down from Columbia. And I can tell you in the early 90s, we passed unfunded mandates that regulated that Columbia simply could not do it. But here we are again today. And I see all these county officials here, and I know right now that these are representatives of many county officials all over this state. But I can tell you now, W.B. Wilson, Reverend Fullmore, Sam Floyd, my friend Munford, I can tell you all right now, this legislation is not just about Horry County. This legislation is about all 46 counties in this state. It's time we take a stand and say no. It's time you go home and fire up. It's time we go home and fire up the base and ask them to contact their Senate and House members. You know, it's a shame that the Senate House members always come around at election time and they want the local governments to support them. Let me tell you something here today.
All right.
This thing's serious, what's going on. James Frazier is business, but it's business for a few at the expense of many South Carolina citizens. Now, the reason I'm stepping up today, I'm just going to tell you, the county association, not only are they fiscally responsible, but they are leaders who are very concerned about services and opportunities for the citizens across this state. And I know right now they can holler all day long about a monopoly, and it's nothing but malarkey. I can tell you right now, there's no protection out of this state where these trash companies want to bring that trash into this state. Let them keep that trash in their own counties, in their own states. That's what we need to do. Now, you know, I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to tell you. You got a lot of friends in the General Assembly, and it's time now they stand up. I'd go to the members of the Senate. I'd ask them to stand up for you, to put their name on this legislation to block it. And I can also say this to you, no better time than today. Today is the time. I know we have members in Horry County that are against this legislation and some for it. How in the world it could be for it is beyond me. But I can also tell you this, it's their God-given right to support what they want to support. But I can tell you in Anderson County, they tried to embrace out-of-state trash and it defeated a lot of the county councilmen in Anderson County. They tried to put it together in Williamsburg County, Sammy, years ago. But we had full members of council stand up and say, no, we don't want Detroit, we don't want Miami, we don't want New Jersey, we don't want these out-of-staters bringing that trash in. And it was defeated. It was defeated because it was the right thing to do. Our environment is all that we have. We are not going to give our clean green space away for a business opportunity for a few somewhere out of the state. With that, I'm going to stop. I'd love to talk on further, but I'm going to tell you, thank you for what you're doing. Mike Cohn, Bob Lyons, thank you for the association of what you do. And I can tell you today is a historical moment. If you leave this state house without talking to your Senate member, shame on you. Shame on you.
Yeah.
It's time to stand up. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak? With no one else wanting to speak, we would open the floor for questions. I can promise you I don't have all the answers, but we do have able staff from the association here that can answer your questions.
One question I would have is, why do you think folks support this bill?
I think that the bill was supported initially because some of the folks in Columbia were told about a gentleman in Marion County who was harmed by a decision that Horry County made on behalf of Horry County citizens. Horry County exercised its freedom to choose what it would like to do with its own trash. And Horry County picked their own citizens in their best interest over a private enterprise in another county.
Do you think legislators have been misled? Is that what you're saying?
I think that legislature was under the presumption that the bill only affected that individual and Horry County, but they are coming to understand now, as evidence behind myself today, that affects all 46 counties and every citizen in this state.
I got a quick question. Does this bill affect the county's ability to bond in the future?
The bill does affect the county's ability to bond for solid waste operations. And that is taxpayer money. That is public investment that's affected by this bill. And the Association of Counties believes that that is a direct intent of the legislation from the very beginning, is to handicap public facilities which the out-of-state corporations believe are their competitors.
So about the fees, the disposal fees that you're paying now, how do those two come into play?
The disposal fees that are paid now are actually going towards services, as the senator alluded to, that were mandated on the county governments in this state to provide in 1991 when the Solid Waste Planning and Management Act was passed. The counties can provide those services by using private enterprise or public enterprise. And the counties are simply trying to provide those services best quality possible at the lowest cost possible to citizens of the state.
Anybody else? Thank you all for coming today, and that concludes our presentation.